The story opens in the remote colony of Viridia 9, a struggling outpost on the edge of known space. Viridia 9 is a lush, dangerous world, dotted with towering forests and treacherous swamps, perfect for hiding, but also unforgiving to the unprepared. The colony was established as a mining and research station, vital for harvesting rare resources, but it is barely self-sufficient. Its population is diverse, consisting of various alien species and a handful of human settlers, all trying to carve out a life amidst hostile wildlife and unpredictable weather. Tensions escalate when Viridia 9's communications relay picks up ominous signals. A brutal, warlike species known as the Cathari has launched a swift, merciless campaign of conquest. The Cathari are infamous for their ruthless expansion, leaving scorched worlds and shattered civilizations in their wake. They are heavily armed, biologically enhanced warriors who believe in domination through fear and overwhelming force. As the Cathari approach Viridia 9's orbit, panic spreads among the colony's inhabitants. Their military defenses are modest, ill-equipped to repel an assault of such scale and ferocity. The colony's leaders send out an SOS, a desperate plea for help broadcasted across the nearest star systems and to the Galactic Confederation's Central Command. Back at the Galactic Confederation, the response is slow and hesitant. Politics and bureaucracy entangle the decision-makers. Several factions debate whether to intervene. Some fear provoking a larger war with the Cathari. Others question the colony's strategic importance. Ultimately, the official rescue fleet is delayed, tied up with other conflicts and diplomatic disputes. Viridia 9's cries for help seem destined to fall on deaf ears. Then, without official sanction, a fleet from the Deathworlders arrives. Deathworlders are a legendary and feared group, survivors from planets so hostile that only the toughest, most adaptable beings endure. Their worlds are harsh, poisonous atmospheres, predatory megafauna, and violent weather systems. Deathworlders have a reputation for merciless efficiency and survivalist brutality, often preferring to settle conflicts through overwhelming force, rather than diplomacy or measured aid. To most in the galaxy, Deathworlders are more myth than ally, warriors and hunters, not saviors. The Deathworlder fleet, arriving in dark, angular warships scarred by countless battles, strikes fear into the hearts of the colony's people. Their presence is a shock. Instead of waiting for the official Confederation fleet, this rough, uncompromising force has answered the SOS alone. Their commander is introduced, Captain Virek, a stoic, battle-hardened veteran with a reputation for ruthless precision and an unyielding will. His eyes reflect a cold intelligence and a haunted past that hints at a personal stake in the conflict. As the Deathworlders descend to Viridia 9's surface, the colonists are divided between relief and dread. They need help, but Deathworlders do not rescue in the traditional sense. Their aid is transactional, often brutal, and comes with a cost. The chapter closes with a foreboding tone. The Cathari forces close in, the Deathworlders prepare to engage, and everyone senses that this is not a simple rescue mission. It's a reckoning, one that will leave no one unchanged. The tension on Viridia 9 thickens as the Deathworlder fleet emerges from hyperspace, silhouetted against the planet's stormy atmosphere. Their ships, unlike the sleek, polished vessels typical of Galactic Confederation forces, are rugged and battle-worn, covered in scars from countless conflicts and modified for extreme environments. The intimidating sight sends a ripple of unease through the colony's inhabitants and even among the invading Cathari forces orbiting the planet. The colonists watch from the ground, eyes wide with a mixture of hope and dread. For many, the arrival of the Deathworlders is both a salvation and a curse. The colony's military leaders scramble to establish contact, wary of what these fearsome newcomers might bring. The Deathworlder Captain Virek wastes no time with pleasantries. His curt and blunt communication leaves no illusions. These warriors are here to fight, not negotiate or protect civilians. His message is clear. The Cathari invaders will be eradicated, but collateral damage is an unavoidable consequence. Meanwhile, The Cathari, arrogant and confident, underestimate the Deathworlders. They perceive them as a primitive, savage force, nothing like the formal fleets of the Confederation. But that misjudgment will soon cost them dearly. The Cathari begin their assault, launching missile barrages and deploying swarms of biologically engineered drones to overwhelm the colony's defenses. The initial battle seems to favor the invaders, but then, the Deathworlders strike. In a sudden and brutal counterattack, Deathworlder squads deploy specialized ground forces trained for the harshest environments. Their warriors move with deadly precision, using guerrilla tactics honed on their own savage homeworlds. They are masters of ambush and close-quarters combat, exploiting the dense forests, toxic swamps, and jagged terrain of Viridia 9 to their advantage. Unlike the Cathari, who rely on overwhelming firepower and shock tactics, the Deathworlders blend into the environment. Their armor and weaponry are designed to adapt and survive, allowing them to strike unseen and vanish before the enemy can respond. They disrupt supply lines, sabotage weapons caches, and terrorize enemy troops with psychological warfare. Deliberate displays of brutality meant to break the invaders' morale. Back on the colony, civilians witness the chaos with mixed emotions. Many are relieved to see the Deathworlders fight so effectively, but they are also terrified by the merciless methods employed. Unlike the Confederation's disciplined soldiers, Deathworlder warriors show no hesitation in using lethal force, even when civilians might be caught in the crossfire. Their presence challenges the colony's understanding of what help looks like. Amidst the battlefield, Captain Virek reveals glimpses of his strategic brilliance. He commands with ruthless efficiency, coordinating the fleet's orbital bombardments with ground maneuvers that trap the Cathari in kill zones. Flashbacks hint at his deep personal hatred for the Cathari, suggesting a history of loss and vengeance fueling his determination. The Cathari soon realize that their usual tactics are ineffective against these relentless adversaries. Their confidence wanes as the Deathworlders push them back, exploiting the colony's terrain and hitting them where it hurts most. The enemy's brutal war machines fall into Deathworlder traps and their forces fragment under constant pressure. As Part 2 closes, the colony is caught in the eye of a storm. The Deathworlders have arrived not just to defend, but to punish. The battle's tide is turning, but the true nature of the Deathworlder response is becoming painfully clear. This is not rescue. It is the start of an unforgiving reckoning. As the initial clash settles into a tense stalemate, the true nature of the Deathworlders' intervention reveals itself. This is no straightforward rescue mission. The Deathworlders don't merely fight to defend, they hunt to annihilate. What began as a desperate defense of Viridia 9 transforms into a brutal campaign to punish and break the invading Cathari forces. The battle moves deeper into the hostile terrain of the colony, where the Deathworlders excel. Using their intimate knowledge of survival on Deathworlds, they transform the environment itself into a weapon. They set traps in the dense jungles, ambushes along treacherous cliffs, and mine swamps with bioengineered explosives that mimic local fauna. Every inch of Viridia 9 becomes a deadly maze for the invaders. Deathworlder squads operate in small, highly mobile units, striking swiftly before disappearing into the wilderness. Their tactics combine raw savagery with precise strategy. Psychological warfare is as important as physical force. The Cathari, once arrogant and overwhelming in their approach, are now haunted by constant fear. They don't know where the next attack will come from, and this unpredictability eats away at their morale. Meanwhile, Captain Virek's personal story begins to surface. Through flashbacks woven into the narrative, readers learn that Virek has a deeply personal vendetta against the Cathari. Years ago, the Cathari razed his homeworld, slaughtering his family and enslaving survivors. This trauma fuels his ruthless determination. For Virek, the battle on Viridia 9 is not just a military campaign. It is a reckoning, a chance to deliver justice by any means necessary. Back on the colony, civilians witness the harsh realities of Deathworlder intervention. Their saviors do not offer comfort or mercy. Hospitals and refugee centers are makeshift and overwhelmed as the wounded pile up. Some colonists struggle to reconcile their gratitude with fear of the Deathworlders' brutal methods. Local leaders grapple with the uneasy truth. Survival here comes at a high cost. Tensions rise between the colony's governing council and Captain Virek. The council urges caution, trying to protect civilians and minimize destruction. Virek dismisses these concerns bluntly, emphasizing that victory requires total domination and that hesitation will only prolong suffering. His cold pragmatism causes friction, but also underscores the Deathworlders' survival ethos. In the fight for life, weakness is fatal. As the Deathworlders press their advantage, the Cathari find themselves pushed back, forced into tighter and more perilous positions. The enemy's supply lines are cut, their war machines disabled, and their soldiers hunted relentlessly. The invaders' arrogance turns to desperation as they realize this battle will not end in a swift conquest, but a merciless purge. The colony becomes a crucible for transformation. Some survivors begin to see the Deathworlders not as monsters, but as a harsh necessity, warriors who will do what must be done when all else fails. Others view them as a new threat, a brutal force whose reckoning may consume everyone. Part 3 closes on a grim note. The Deathworlders are not here to save. They are here to punish, to cleanse, to settle scores. The reckoning has begun in earnest, and no one on Viridia 9 will emerge unchanged. As the brutal conflict on Viridia 9 intensifies, fractures begin to emerge, not only between the Deathworlders and the invaders, but also within the colony itself. The arrival of the Deathworlder fleet has shifted the power dynamics drastically, and now old alliances and hidden agendas start to surface. The colony's governing council is faced with a difficult choice: how to coexist with their fierce saviors, without losing control or becoming collateral damage themselves. The governing council, composed of representatives from various species and factions on Viridia 9, is deeply divided. Some leaders are grateful for the Deathworlders' intervention and want to fully support the harsh military campaign to ensure the colony's survival. Others fear the consequences of unchecked Deathworlder brutality and advocate for negotiation, or even withdrawal of their forces to prevent further destruction. Captain Virek remains unwavering in his stance. He insists that leniency is a weakness and that the Cathari threat can only be extinguished by total annihilation. His rigid pragmatism clashes with the Council's diplomatic efforts, creating tension and mistrust. The Council tries to impose restrictions on the Deathworlders' operations to protect civilians and infrastructure, but Virek views these as dangerous distractions from the mission. Amid this political tension, the Cathari escalate their tactics. Desperate and cornered, they send covert agents to infiltrate the colony and sabotage the Deathworlders from within. These saboteurs sow chaos by disrupting supply chains, assassinating key figures, and spreading misinformation to turn colonists against the Deathworlders. One such saboteur succeeds in infiltrating a small Deathworlder unit, leading to a deadly ambush that nearly wipes them out. This breach exposes vulnerabilities in the Deathworlders' otherwise formidable defense and raises alarms about internal security. However, this crisis also brings unexpected alliances. Some colonists, initially fearful and hostile toward the Deathworlders, begin to see their value and courage in the face of overwhelming odds. A few brave individuals reach out to the Deathworlders, offering their knowledge of the terrain and local resources. These collaborations improve the Deathworlders' effectiveness and foster a fragile trust between the two groups. Despite these small bonds, suspicion and paranoia grow. The Council launches investigations to root out traitors, but the Cathari saboteurs are cunning, operating in the shadows and exploiting the colony's fractured political landscape. False accusations and betrayals among colonists exacerbate the tension, threatening to unravel the fragile unity needed to survive. Captain Virek, already burdened by his own demons and mission, faces increasing pressure from both the colony's leaders and his own officers. Some Deathworlder warriors question the wisdom of engaging with alien politics, while others demand harsher measures to stamp out internal threats. The chapter reaches a breaking point when the Council discovers a high-ranking official collaborating with the Cathari saboteurs. This revelation shocks the colony and forces a dramatic purge. The betrayal underscores the cost of divided loyalties and the stakes of the ongoing war. As Part 4 concludes, the colony stands at a crossroads. The Deathworlders and colonists must navigate a fragile web of alliances, suspicion, and betrayal, while preparing for the enemy's next devastating assault. Survival depends not only on military might, but on whether this uneasy coalition can hold together in the face of relentless threats, both external and within. As the war on Viridian 9 reaches its climax, the battered colony and its reluctant saviors brace for the final, decisive confrontation with the Cathari forces. Both sides have suffered heavy losses, but the stakes have never been higher. The Deathworlders and the colonists know that if they fail here, Viridian 9 will be utterly destroyed, and the Cathari will continue their ruthless campaign across the galaxy. Captain Virek takes command of the joint defense with unyielding resolve. Despite previous tensions, he recognizes the necessity of cooperation between the Deathworlders and the colony's forces. He calls for an unprecedented alliance. Deathworlder warriors and colonists will fight side by side, combining guerrilla tactics with the colony's knowledge of their own terrain and resources. The battlefield is set in the colony's capital and its surrounding wilderness, where natural defenses provide critical advantages. The Deathworlders have fortified choke points with deadly traps and ambush positions, while the colonists deploy militia units and defensive technology to hold key structures. It is a desperate, high-stakes battle of attrition. The Cathari launch, a massive coordinated assault, bringing their war machines and elite soldiers to bear in overwhelming numbers. Their strategy is brutal and relentless, aiming to crush resistance quickly before reinforcements can arrive. The sky fills with missile fire and the ground trembles beneath heavy artillery strikes. But the Deathworlders and colonists fight with ferocity born of desperation and hope. Deathworlder warriors use their expertise in guerrilla warfare to harass supply lines and isolate enemy units, while the colonists provide vital intelligence and operate advanced defense systems. The coalition's synergy turns the tide, frustrating the Cathari's advances. Amid the chaos, personal stories unfold. Captain Virek confronts the commander of the Cathari assault, a brutal warlord who embodies the merciless enemy that destroyed his homeworld. Their confrontation is more than tactical. It is deeply personal, fueled by vengeance and bitter history. Their duel epitomizes the broader conflict, a reckoning not just of armies, but of souls scarred by war. The battle is brutal and costly. Key Deathworlder warriors fall, and many colonists are wounded or killed. But the determination to survive and defend their homeworld drives the coalition forward. The Deathworlders' willingness to endure hardship and use the environment to their advantage wears down the Cathari forces. In a climactic moment, the coalition sets a trap, luring the Cathari warlord and his elite guard into a confined valley rigged with explosives and guerrilla fighters ready to strike. The trap is sprung with devastating effect, breaking the enemy's command structure and shattering their morale. With their leadership crippled and forces in disarray, the remaining Cathari retreat. The battlefield falls silent except for the wounded and the victorious. Viridian 9 stands, battered but free, thanks to the harsh and unyielding intervention of the Deathworlders and the courage of the colonists. As the dust settles, the colony faces the daunting task of rebuilding amid loss and destruction. The alliance forged in fire between Deathworlders and colonists is uneasy but necessary, a testament to survival in the harshest conditions. The final stand marks not only the defeat of the Cathari, but a transformation for all involved. The Deathworlders have proven they are more than legends. They are a force to be reckoned with, harsh, unforgiving, but ultimately vital. The colonists have learned that survival often demands sacrifice and hard choices. With the Cathari forces driven from Viridian 9 and the final battle won, a heavy silence settles over the scarred landscape. The victory is bittersweet, costly, in lives, resources, and the fragile innocence of the colony. As the dust clears, the true consequences of the Deathworlders' reckoning begin to emerge, reshaping the colony's future and the wider galaxy's perception of what it means to be saved. The immediate priority is recovery. The colony's infrastructure is in ruins. Homes, factories, and vital systems lie shattered under the weight of battle. Medical teams work tirelessly to treat the wounded, but resources are stretched thin. The colonists grapple with trauma, mourning the fallen while trying to rebuild a semblance of normal life amid the scars of war. Yet the Deathworlders remain a looming presence. Their fleet lingers in orbit, a constant reminder that their intervention came at a price. While they helped save the colony, they also left destruction in their wake. Civilians debate whether the ruthless methods were necessary or if a less brutal approach could have sufficed. The Deathworlders, stoic and unyielding, offer little in the way of comfort or diplomacy. Their culture is one of survival and harsh justice, and they expect the colony to understand this truth. Political tensions simmer as the governing council faces pressure from various factions. Some leaders advocate for integrating Deathworlder technology and tactics into the colony's defenses, hoping to prepare for future threats. Others warn against reliance on such a savage force, fearing loss of autonomy and identity. The question lingers: can Viridia 9 coexist with the Deathworlders, or will their presence become another form of domination? Captain Virek becomes a figure of complex legend, both feared and respected. He meets with colony leaders to discuss a tenuous alliance, but his true priorities remain shrouded in mystery. Flashbacks reveal the depth of his pain and the personal cost of war, humanizing the fierce warrior. Though battle-hardened, Virek shows glimpses of respect for the colonists' resilience, suggesting that even in reckoning, empathy can survive. Meanwhile, news of the Deathworlders' ferocity and victory spreads across the Galactic Confederation and beyond. For some species, the Deathworlders are hailed as indispensable defenders against existential threats, a force of nature that balances the galaxy's scales. For others, they are a warning of what happens when mercy is abandoned for survival. The story of Viridia 9 becomes a catalyst for debate on military ethics, survivalism, and the price of peace. For the colonists, life is irrevocably changed. The once hopeful settlers now carry scars, both physical and psychological, that will influence generations. Children grow up hearing stories not just of survival, but of the harsh lessons taught by the Deathworlders. Their presence redefines what it means to fight, endure, and protect one's home. In the closing moments, the narrative reflects on the broader theme. Salvation is not always gentle, and help can come wrapped in fire and fury. The Deathworlders' response was never about rescue. It was about reckoning. It is a reminder that sometimes, to preserve life, the harshest truths must be faced and the darkest battles fought. As Viridia 9 rebuilds, a new chapter begins, one shaped by alliances forged in blood, lessons learned through hardship, and the uneasy hope that even the fiercest warriors can inspire courage and change.